When rivers rage, the results can be deadly. Around the world, floods have plagued mankind since the beginning of time. Keeping victims alive during these extreme conditions requires bravery, breathtaking skill, and just plain luck. Survival is hard won in a Swiftwater rescue. Los Angeles County. It's home to over 9 million people. And the river which runs through the heart of this city is usually a quiet and harmless stream. The flood control channels are like forgotten monuments of a different era. Their true purpose can seem mysterious. After all, LA has the climate of a desert most of the year. This is a place where droughts can last a decade. And the only water to be seen is at the beach. But as anyone in LA can tell you, looks can be deceiving. When rain finally does come to LA, it often falls with a vengeance. And the Los Angeles River can become a furious monster, reaching terrifying speeds of over 45 miles per hour. Powerful enough to move a fully loaded concrete truck downstream like it was a child's toy. For those unfortunate enough to find themselves trapped in this savage current, deliverance comes in the welcoming hand of the rescuer.
Hey, he got him! He's got him!
The Los Angeles County multi-agency Swiftwater rescue system is one of the most advanced in the world. Hundreds of specially trained police, firefighters, and lifeguards, augmented by 23 Swiftwater rescue teams and an air force of 8 helicopters, give victims a fighting chance against man-made obstacles and Mother Nature's furies. But Swiftwater rescues weren't always this successful. When torrential rains fell back in 1980, rescuers were nearly powerless to help anyone trapped in the river. That February, Southern California experienced some of its most severe flooding ever. And in the midst of this rain, one woman's life would be shattered.
Sometimes life presents us with choices which must be made, and made immediately. So it was with Earl Higgins during the height of the California flooding. Higgins and his fiancée, Nancy Rigg, had moved to Los Angeles just 6 weeks ago. During a break in the rain, they were walking by the swollen Los Angeles River when they saw a young boy being swept away by the rushing current. In an instant, Earl Higgins had to make a choice.
Earl, at that point, jumped in. I mean, there was no question about trying to save a little boy. The little kid was screaming for help, and what do you do in a situation like that?
The man and the boy tumbled downstream. Somehow, the boy was pushed ashore unhurt. But Earl Higgins was never seen again. Nancy Rigg hopes against hope that he's out of the water, alive, but dazed.
Admittedly, it isn't much.
No. If you ain't got hope, though, what do you have? The last image I have of him alive was, he was about, I don't know, 200 yards downstream where the water is condensed into a narrower area, and the water swirled him around, and I knew at that point that I would never see him again. I remember yelling at the water, "You can't have Earl, you can't have Earl." And I just kept saying, "No, no, you can't have him."
After only a few precious hours, the fire department called off the search. It was assumed that Earl had died and that his body was probably being swept out to sea. From where Earl Higgins fell in, the Los Angeles River flowed through 11 different jurisdictions on its way to the ocean. As surprising as it may seem now, emergency personnel in one jurisdiction had no contact with those in another.
I had to hand deliver photographs and descriptions of Earl to all those 11 agencies downstream because they had no way to even communicate with each other in terms of somebody being missing. And I thought, I remember, because you grow up on television, it's like, just put it out on the wire. Well, there was no wire. There was nothing to put it out on.
Eventually, 9 months later, Earl's body was recovered. He had been swept nearly 30 miles downstream.
I was on duty working a rescue boat that patrolled the LA River the day that Earl Higgins' body was recovered. The Army Corps of Engineers was dredging in that area, and his body was uncovered by the dredge. And I wondered at that time, what his life was like, who his brothers or sisters or his parents were at the time, and how they must miss him, because the loss is just irreplaceable. And I always think about those feelings, and I felt that way that same day.
Though Earl's body was recovered, Nancy found herself haunted by many unanswered questions.
When somebody you love dies tragically, having their death written off, as Earl's was, as "oh, too bad, what a tragedy," isn't good enough.
Her fiancé of 5 years now dead, and her life in tatters, she knew that other people should be spared the pain she went through. Her mission now was to find out how to improve a victim's chances for survival. She learned that until the late 1930s, the city of Los Angeles was located on a largely uncontrolled floodplain. Over the years, hundreds of people lost their lives in flooding along the LA River. Then a series of storms in 1938 left a good part of the Los Angeles basin underwater. For 10 harrowing days, Los Angeles was cut off from the rest of the world. 180 people were killed in the floods. Property damage in contemporary terms was in the billions of dollars.
The 1938 flood, it caught everybody by surprise. It was just so much rain fell in such a short time, and there was so much water everywhere. It just shocked everybody.
Public outcries prompted the Los Angeles County Department of Public Works and the Army Corps of Engineers to design the vast flood control system for Los Angeles.
The Los Angeles County Flood Control District prepared a comprehensive plan for flood control for the Los Angeles County drainage area. The existing channels would be improved and straightened, and levees along their banks would be raised and protected to provide stabilized channels for the runoff water.
This is the largest flood control system in the United States, and is comprised of 450 miles of concrete channels and over 2,000 miles of storm drains. And at the height of a storm, the Los Angeles River can receive as much volume as the Mississippi River.
One of the things that we had to deal with here is getting the water out as quickly as possible. And there's really only one way to do that, and that is to do these straight line channels and put concrete in them. Just super speeds up the flow to get it out to the ocean as quickly as possible.
But when the flood control system was built, no thought was given to how to rescue someone who was caught in it. And when the rains did come, some figures indicate that between 12 and 16 lives were lost per year in the channels. But in years when there was little rain, the channels remained dormant. There was even talk of turning them into freeways. Few seemed concerned about Swiftwater rescues. It would take Nancy Rigg nearly 12 more years of reform efforts, a devastating El Nino storm, and the televised rescue attempt of the 15-year-old boy before Los Angeles would again realize the brutal power of the LA River. But by then, it might be too late. On February 10th, 1992, a 4-year drought which had a stranglehold over Los Angeles came to an abrupt end. Over 5 inches of rain fell in one 24-hour period. The ground quickly became saturated. Most emergency personnel were caught off guard, and the flood control system was filling to near capacity. The situation was quickly becoming dangerous. Fast rising water stranded 50 motorists in the Sepulveda Basin. The potential for disaster was enormous. Then 2 days later, a breathtaking rescue attempt was captured live on television. A 15-year-old boy, Adam Bishoff, somehow wound up in the now ferocious LA River. How he got into the channel remains a mystery, but what happened next is not.
I had the television on, and suddenly this horrifying footage shows up. This young boy, there he goes. He's being swept past the same damn rescuers without their equipment, without no lifeguards, no nothing. I mean, Adam Bishoff went 10 miles down the Los Angeles River.
I know he lasted for a long time. I think he just looking at those pictures over and over again, I think he just was totally exhausted. The look on his face, I mean, he'd been beat up. He'd been just smashed around that LA River.
Hypothermic and weak, Adam eventually became caught in some submerged vegetation. Adam's body was found the next morning amid debris from the swollen river.
The difference between Adam Bischoff's last moments on Earth and Earl's last moments on Earth was the presence of news cameras.
That day, there happened to be a news cameraman at the LA River. Suddenly, a child was swept towards him. It aired live on television.
And there were policemen by the side of the river grabbing garden hoses to try to throw something out to Adam.
It was clear that there was no plan to handle this kind of an emergency. The severe rains continued throughout February of 1992. So too did the threat posed by the swollen and treacherous Los Angeles River. Still reeling from the televised death of Adam Bischoff, the city was about to be subjected to another poorly coordinated rescue attempt. 6 weeks later, on April 7th, news helicopters rushed to the scene of a 15-year-old boy floating helplessly down one of the flood-controlled channels.
Right now, he's just out of control. Someone just threw a rope in the mist.
A county fire department rescue helicopter was quickly dispatched to the scene.
Going down the river at about 20 to 25 knots right now, and the LA County helicopter with a rescue horse is hovering over him.
I was the man that was going to attempt the rescue. I was the man that was going to be lowered to the rescue.
He's still out of control going down this river. It's a horrifying sight watching this spectacle below us.
The problem with a lot of those rivers is you run into debris. There could be vehicles in there, there could be trees, there could be rocks, anything that would cost him his life.
We have a lot of water, thunderstorms, and lightning strikes in the area, and it's just terrible, treacherous weather conditions right now.
The actual Swiftwater moving victim, we had never trained in that, so this was totally new to us. The stress level was tremendous.
Well, there it goes. He's got the rescue man in the water, and they're going to try to intercept it.
When I was being lowered down to the victim, what came to mind was fear, not knowing how was I going to secure the victim with the minimal training that we had on this type of rescue. It was a very frightening situation. It was one of the most difficult things I had ever done in my life.
Okay, the para-rescue man on the end of the hoist from the county fire helicopter is in position. This is very dramatic, dangerous, deadly situation right now. Okay, he's 100 yards, 75 yards, 50 yards, 40 yards, 30 feet, 20 feet, 10 feet, 5 feet. Hey, he got him! He's got him!
When the victim approached me, I just reached for him, tried to call him towards me. He couldn't do anything. He was fearing for his life. He was probably freezing cold.
Oh, he let go! The para-rescue man has let go! He couldn't hang on!
The force was tremendous. The current would not allow me the leverage, and I was only able to grab him with one hand on his collar. When he slipped through my hands, that was one of the most difficult times in my life, because my job is to rescue, and not having control of the situation, it devastated me. Just knowing that I wasn't able to secure him like I had wanted to.
Finally, after nearly an hour, the boy was dramatically pulled from the water. But this was a lucky save. Clearly, the system wasn't working.
I couldn't stand it. That was it. And I dropped everything, and I basically went on a one-woman campaign. That was it. I knew we had one window of opportunity to make that change, and that Adam's death was it.
But as the days passed and Nancy prepared to take action, one question haunted her. Could she bring about significant change before the LA River could claim yet another victim? Adam Bishoff's death and the near drowning of another 15-year-old had brought to light the serious deficiencies in recent rescue attempts. But by this point, many rescuers in LA were seeking comprehensive review and overhaul of LA's Swiftwater rescue capabilities. An article about Earl Higgins' death 12 years earlier, and written by Nancy Rigg, caught the attention of LA County lifeguard Mickey Gallagher. Gallagher had worked for years to try to improve Swiftwater rescue capabilities.
I'm thumbing through the paper and I run into this article and I go, I wonder how to just give her a call. And so I called information and I got a hold of Nancy Rigg, and she came down and we talked for hours.
I said, Mickey, what do we do now? And he said, well, would you be willing to talk to the media? I'm getting calls from everybody. And I said, I'd rather have a root canal. Yeah, Mickey, sure. I'd be more than happy to dredge up all this pain from 12 years ago and, talk, and yeah, let's do it. Because it just was too painful. Adam's death was just too painful. That young man fought. He gave rescuers every opportunity to rescue him. He was there. He was helping them. If they'd only known what they were doing, he would have been rescued. That hurt. That was really hard.
Very soon afterwards, Nancy appeared on a local newsmaker show.
Are you people adequately trained for these kinds of rescues?
Earl, I'm not sure that anybody feels that they're adequately trained to deal with a circumstance where you only have a couple of minutes to reach a victim, deal with water that is traveling at 30 to 35 miles per hour, and affect that rescue under those very, very tight and demanding circumstances.
Watching the rescue people on the bridges, they were obviously, to me, not prepared with even the minimum equipment.
If a rescuer had grabbed the child, he would have also been swept away by the sheer force of the child's body coming down the river. In 11 years, the rescuers still hadn't been issued standard life vests. While Nancy was tackling the system from the outside, visionary and dedicated rescuers like Larry Collins of the Los Angeles County Fire Department were chipping away from the inside.
And I think that's Nancy's biggest contribution, is that she focused the attention of the government officials by getting on camera and saying in no uncertain terms that this is a problem that needs to be addressed.
Nancy, accompanied by Adam Bishoff's father, finally took her cause to the Board of Supervisors and the City Council. Now the top brass had to listen.
My name is Nancy Rigg. My dream today is to gain your support for change.
David Bishoff.
My name is David Bishoff, and my son Adam's tragic death 5 months ago in the flood control channel dramatically demonstrated the lack of an organized swiftwater rescue plan in Los Angeles.
Their impassioned pleas worked. The Board of Supervisors was moved to act.
The politicians really, they knew this was a hot topic. And I also knew that there was only one window of opportunity. We did it now or it would again languish. It would go into the back burner.
Within weeks of the City Council meeting, the first multi-agency Swiftwater Rescue Committee was called into session.
We have a large turnout this morning and very pleased to see all the representatives of our committee here today.
Finally, all the different agencies from almost every jurisdiction that borders the Los Angeles River were meeting together and discussing ways to improve swiftwater rescue techniques.
You're going to come down and swim to them, turn them around, get them pointed downstream.
Training now takes place several times a year, giving emergency personnel first-hand experience at rescues and new life-saving techniques.
Pull back, pull back. Perfect.
I'm going to come in and rescue you. Point your feet downstream. Okay, here I come.
Going into the water to perform a rescue might be necessary if the victim is unable to help themselves. They might be hypothermic, they might have lost their gripping strength, they might not know how to swim very well, and they're very close to drowning.
Look behind you, there's going to be a rope. Grab the rope.
Rescuers could train on a mock helicopter, which has been mounted on a specially designed tower rising 50 feet off the ground.
Safety off, radar lower. The helicopter actually has a working hoist as a part of it, and then we also will rig it for our Swiftwater evolution to lower a rope with a rescuer attached out of that aircraft.
The new system was starting to work. Los Angeles now had a swiftwater response system in place. But the real test would come during an actual rescue. A cement company was helping to earthquake retrofit one of the bridges that crosses the Los Angeles River when a flash flood in the mountains above LA suddenly filled the flood control channel in the city with a wall of muddy water. Jose Nunez in the white safety helmet and a co-worker suddenly found themselves stranded on their cement truck in the middle of the now turbulent river, which only minutes before was nothing more than a gentle stream. An LA County Sheriff's Rescue helicopter, Air 5, was immediately dispatched. On board were Deputy Sheriff Rick Hernandez and pilot Larry Stewart. Both men were part of the new multi-agency Swiftwater rescue system designed to respond to emergencies like this.
When I arrived and saw that both the men standing on the very top of the cement truck, the actual spout where they pour the cement into the truck, I realized they couldn't get any higher. We were low enough and close enough to where I could see their expressions. They were holding on for dear life.
The helicopter began to hover into position, and Deputy Hernandez was lowered.
I wanted to get these guys off this truck because I want them falling into the water. If they had fallen in the water, they were going to be in serious trouble.
The high-voltage power lines made the helicopter rescue very dangerous.
Our blades are made of aluminum. Anytime your blades would hit any obstacle, you're probably going to go down.
By this time, the water's coming up higher, and we saw one of the deputies jump out of the helicopter, and it was Rick.
I landed on the cement truck. It was jammed up on the bridge pretty good. I elected to unhook myself. Now I'm off the hook. Now I'm on the cement truck. My safety line to the helicopter has been disconnected.
With the noise of the helicopter and the wind and all these feelings that you have going, it was very difficult.
It was impossible for Jose to hear what rescuer Rick Hernandez was saying. Hernandez took the harness off himself and wrapped it around Jose Nunez. Hernandez's plan was to stay with the other victim as Jose was lifted up.
I heard him screaming something and telling us to mellow out and settle down. I was trying to grab him, hoping that he'll just pick me up and take me up on top of the helicopter. I went up first. What a relief when you settle into the helicopter.
The hoist came back down and moved over to the second victim and hooked him up. We both came back up.
The rescue was a success. Jose Nunez and his co-worker were rescued from a situation which could have cost them their lives. The new multi-agency Swiftwater rescue system that Nancy Rigg fought for was starting to work. But the rains would soon end. An angry and thundering Los Angeles River was becoming only a memory, and Swiftwater rescues no longer seemed a cause for concern. But each year brought new storms, and soon the system would again be tested. Because Los Angeles is in a desert climate, it's easy to forget how fierce its rivers can become. During the long dry season, some truck drivers use the concrete flood control channel as a convenient turnaround point. When a flash flood suddenly swept down the Los Angeles River, one unlucky truck driver unexpectedly found himself in the middle of the vortex. Now it was up to the highly trained Swiftwater rescue teams to get the driver off his truck before he was swept away by the rapidly rising waters. LA City Fire Department rescue paramedic John Englund was quickly dispatched to the scene by helicopter. The rescue was anything but routine.
We got on scene. It was a very precarious situation. It couldn't have happened in a worser spot. He was on top of a truck in the middle of a channel, high voltage power lines 50 feet directly above him. There was no way for anybody from the bank of the river to get them, so that option was out. I saw immediately it was on our shoulders.
To clear the power lines, the helicopter was forced to hover only 25 feet above the truck driver.
We were very close. Now we were between the ground and the power lines. And the first thing in my mind was, I have to do this right. I don't want to make a mistake and endanger him.
Downwash from the helicopter's blades began to cause England to spin wildly. This uncontrolled spin, also known as oscillation, might accidentally cause England to knock the truck driver into the water.
His eyes were pretty big, and I could see a little bit of worry in his eyes. You know, it's very loud, the noise of the water. Water was rising, so I knew we had to hurry up with the job here because we were not going to get more than one shot at this. I was trying to explain to him, the minute I got on the truck, don't move, let me come to you, because I didn't want to take a chance of him falling off the truck, and that would have probably been, he'd have been gone. Explain I'm going to put this strap around him, strap him in, and I'm going to bring you to me, and that's what I was yelling at him.
We're looking at live pictures of a rescue attempt as it's being made in the LA River. They are now beginning to pull him up and away from the rig. Great job in rescuing, or as they call it, in capture.
The truck driver narrowly escaped disaster. Good Swiftwater rescue training and some amazing flying had made a difference. But because of the enormous size of the flood control system, there's still no guarantee that every rescue attempt will be successful. The day before Thanksgiving in 1997, 5 teenagers wandered into the Rio Hondo Channel and soon found themselves in serious danger. An emergency call went out that day, which was to leave even the best trained Swiftwater rescuers stunned and helpless.
This is the Sheriff's Department. Is there anyone trapped down there?
5 teenagers had been down in a wash in an area that wasn't really well covered yet by our new system. We've got the main channels really down, but we don't have all the side channels covered.
The teenagers had crawled into the channel through a makeshift ladder when a sudden deluge of water from upstream damaged the ladder. The steep vertical concrete walls made the narrow channel a death trap.
When you get into the water that's that cold, you lose your ability to have any muscle control after about 4 or 5 minutes. If the water temperature is 40 degrees or lower, you lose the ability to consciously move any muscles.
It was only knee-deep water, and the power of water is so tremendous, and it doesn't look like it's very powerful, but it's extremely powerful, even at a depth of, 2 or 3 feet.
2 of the teenagers were found alive by Swiftwater rescue ground teams. Later in the day, as search efforts were being exhausted, the other 3 teenagers were found. Tragically, all had died in the channel.
The lesson for me was that no system is perfect. That no matter how much we put into this, that somebody may still get killed. It was really, really hard.
Any of those kids surviving that, I hope they recognize how lucky they were that they're alive. They're extremely lucky. From a statistical standpoint, they probably are the luckiest 2 kids on Earth.
The river can be unforgiving, and for those who get caught in its grip, it can be deadly. But new methods are constantly being developed to give Swiftwater rescuers a fighting chance at saving a victim. Anchor bolts are being installed throughout the entire flood control system so that rescuers can quickly connect their equipment into the channel walls.
But what they would do with this is this is the standard anchor bolt and eyelet right here.
And they take the carabiner and they just hook it in right here. So they put it in like that.
And there are more innovations. The multi-agency Swiftwater rescue system now uses a state-of-the-art computer-based dispatch program.
Copy text for further. 310 north.
Sighting times and river flow speeds are calculated with other factors to automatically recommend rescue points.
This is reported at Wiley Canyon, Illinois.
Swiftwater rescue teams can then be dispatched anywhere in Los Angeles County.
We've increased everybody's chances of survival of being caught in a waterway by being able to set up well enough in advance.
We've seen some of the water rescues that they do, and it's just incredible. I have a profound respect for those guys and what they do, because it's almost just like fighting a fire. Fire's unpredictable. It's the same thing with water, and it's just as powerful, too.
In the earlier dispatches of Swiftwater incidents, normally we might have 2 or 3 companies respond, which might consist of 8 to 12 individuals. Today's response, it's not uncommon to see 50 to 70 people out there. And as a result of that, the victim obviously has a better chance of being recovered.
The Swiftwater rescue system was again tested in 1998. 14-year-old Megan Cole and her friend were playing dangerously close to a creek that was rapidly filling after a recent rain. Before she knew it, Megan started a journey that would eventually take her 7 miles downstream. Even though she was in only 18 inches of water at times, it was impossible to stand up in the rushing current. Captain Tim Quinn of the LA City Fire Department's Swiftwater Air Unit was quickly dispatched to the river by the city's Operations Control Division.
And about a mile upriver, we spotted a victim in the river. It turned out it was a girl by the name of Megan Cole. Had Megan Cole kept going down this Bull Creek, she would have eventually came into the area where Adam Bishoff had drowned and probably would have met the same fate.
The water was so cold, but you were numb, you know? So like you're being dragged along the bottom, but you don't even feel it.
And they are setting up.
Captain Quinn positioned himself downstream from Megan.
They're lowering the pararescue man into the water in an effort to rescue this person.
Quinn's plan was to try and capture the teenager as she approached.
And you can see that person is reaching up. The victim is approaching and only about 15 yards away from the pararescue man. You see as she approaches, the wind from the helicopter, very intense. There's the pararescue man. And they got her! They got her!
But it was like, thank God, once he grabbed me. And it was scary because he tried to put something around me, and he had trouble and stuff. And for a second I kind of slipped back.
He's trying to hold on. The water is rushing very heavily. He's putting a line around that victim. This is what they trained for. They are struggling in the water.
I'm talking to her, trying to console her, tell her we're here, it's okay, we got you now. Nothing's gonna happen to you, just hang on.
The water is moving at a very rapid pace. It is dangerous for the helicopter. There's a tree coming up. They're going to try to pull the victim out. They're out of the water. They're out of the water. He's got a hold of her.
The first thing I thought was how cold I was, because you can't really feel how cold you are in the water because you get used to it, but once you are in the air, not in the water anymore, it was freezing.
When I put her on the ground, she was shivering.
That person is very lucky to be alive right now. There we go. That person is lucky to be alive.
Some passerbys had brought some blankets up and they threw them over her shoulders. And I allowed the passerbys to escort her to the ambulance that was waiting at the street. About 2.5 miles down from where we rescued her, there are a bunch of snags in the river, trees and bushes and things, and had she gone that far, she probably would not have survived.
I took one look at her and burst into tears. I could not help it. It was like, she represents to me everything, every reason that this program exists, embodied in this young lady. She's got her whole life ahead of her. It's a miracle. She would have been dead if we hadn't had this program.
Los Angeles isn't alone in dealing with flooded rivers that can become death traps. From Italy to Australia, Turkey to China, Germany to Peru, flash floods occur around the world, and they often happen without warning. They can be the result of torrential rains, a snowmelt, or massive storms. And anyone unlucky enough to be caught in a flash flood will have an experience they'll never forget, if they survive. Flash floods kill thousands of people each year, and death by drowning is the #1 leading cause of weather-related fatalities.
You don't have any idea what you're going to run into. What might be there one day, then 5 minutes later may not be there, and things change constantly.
It often seems like no corner of the globe is immune to swiftwater catastrophes. And it's not just people who need to be rescued. In western Turkey, this horse found itself trapped in the ferocious Bolu River. But a river swollen from the rains shows mercy to neither man nor beast. In China, crowds gather at the banks of the Qiantong River to watch the great tidal bore. This rare phenomenon of a rapid tidal rise usually occurs in springtime and can be very destructive. Some people tempt fate and get too close to the river's edge. Those swept into the river make desperate attempts to save themselves. But the river's grip is too strong. Bystanders on shore try to help. A simple branch and an outstretched hand are all this rescuer can offer. But luckily, it's enough. In Alice Springs, Australia, firefighters were alerted when floodwaters swelled the normally calm Todd River. One victim was swept away while another scrambled to safety by clinging to a tree. Firefighters quickly mounted a rescue operation to save him. Exhausted and cold, the victim used whatever strength he had left to cling to the firefighter. Both men were momentarily overcome by the 20-mile-per-hour Swiftwater. But the rescue was successful, and the victim was able to walk away from his ordeal. In Adelaide, Australia, rescue workers were called to the scene when a young boy, Chris Butler, was seen floating helplessly in the Stewart River flood control channel.
That way. It was quicker.
Almost immediately, Senior Constable John Carter and a colleague jumped in after the boy. Underestimating the power of this relentless river, they too became victims. Now all three were stranded atop an abandoned shopping cart. The water was a frigid 40 degrees. All they could do was wait. Another constable, who was an expert swimmer, volunteered to bring a rope out to the victims. By this point, Chris Butler, who had been in the water for over an hour, was growing weaker. The rescuers would have to act fast. Chris struggled to safety. But there were two more rescues to make. Constable Carter, who was by now in the water for 45 minutes, was considerably weakened by the effects of hypothermia. The constable was finally pulled from the water. And the boy, though frightened and cold, was soon released from a local hospital. Rivers and flood control channels around the world, and those of Los Angeles, California, have one thing in common. They all will flood at some time. And it's necessary for emergency personnel to be prepared with equipment and training if they hope to make successful rescues. For Nancy Rigg, each life saved in a Swiftwater rescue in Los Angeles is a moment of personal triumph. Her 20-year campaign has produced tangible results. Thanks in part to her efforts, Los Angeles now has 23 Swiftwater rescue teams and over 500 specially trained rescuers. In a moment's notice, up to 8 helicopters can be instantly deployed to facilitate Swiftwater rescues.
This program would never, ever have come into being if the guys on the line, the men and women in the fire department, the men and women in law enforcement and in the lifeguards, if they hadn't embraced it.
Say what you want, but if it wasn't for Nancy and pushing, there's no way this program would be where it is today. There's absolutely no way.
She's been persistent, and she doesn't let this die, and that is a great credit to her. She's very committed to seeing that this is not a program that is put out there on a shelf and gathers dust.
She has been a catalyst. She has been a cheerleader. She has been there to coax, to urge, and in some cases where necessary to kind of push things.
Nancy Rigg continues to work with the multi-agency Swiftwater rescue system. She is a steadfast reminder how important the Swiftwater rescue capability is.
I never set out to become the voice of Swiftwater Rescue, but somebody had to speak up for people whose voices were silenced too soon. And this goes back to having Adam and Earl killed at such young ages. And every life holds value, and somebody had to speak up.
The efforts of Nancy Rigg, Mickey Gallagher, Larry Collins, and so many other dedicated rescuers are producing solid results. Now, Swiftwater victims who fall prey to the powerful Los Angeles River have a fighting chance to live.